What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? Today we have another look at the Skeptic Mafia podcast. If you're unaware, you can join the Skeptic Mafia by either going to joinskepticmafia.com or hitting that join link here on the watch page, or you can go to patreon.com/Godless Engineer and you can become part of the Skeptic Mafia. We have this podcast every single week where we talk about a few stories that are happening in the community. And this is just one of those stories. Today we're talking about how this conservative lawyer wants everybody to start saying God bless America in public schools, as well as offering really bad advice to schools that get letters from like the FFRF telling them to cease and desist like all of their school-led like prayer and saying God bless America and everything like that. So yeah, I hope that you guys will consider becoming part of the Skeptic Mafia so that we can talk about these things every single week on that podcast. But other than that, I guess I'll see you guys after the show. But for our final story that we got here today, it's a conservative lawyer. He says that kids should say God bless America in schools because of 9/11. Yeah.
Dumbest fucking reason.
It's got a video with it.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Okay, are we going to watch it?
Yeah, we're going to watch it.
Let's watch.
First Liberty, Jeremy Dice joins us now. Jeremy, thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Is it unconstitutional? Has a court ever said that this violates the Constitution?
Well, of course not. Nor have they said things like "in God we trust" or even the phrase "under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance are unconstitutional. These are perfectly acceptable phrases and things that we've used throughout our country's history to describe our great feelings of gratitude for living in a land of the free and the home of the brave. It's a way that we have prepared ourselves before battle and reminded ourselves after great tragedy. And so it's a great part of our history. And frankly, if the members of Congress can stand on the United States Capitol and belt out the tune, certainly elementary students can say it over the loudspeaker after the announcement time.
But Jeremy, you know how it works. Different entities wind up with a letter from this organization, and they're afraid there's going to be a protracted legal fight. It's going to cost them a lot of money. So rather than fight, they just say, you know what, we don't need that.
Yeah, that's really regrettable that that kind of thing happens. And I would really encourage those folks to go to firstliberty.org before they even begin to consider responding to such letters, because we'd love to help them think that through. Look, when we bow to those kind of demands, that kind of bullying tactic that we get rid of these phrases that have been so long a part of our nation's history, we begin to undermine the very freedoms that have made this country grand and have led to people like Irving Berlin to even put that song together and make those words put together here as well. There's no reason for us to get rid of these phrases. In fact, I would encourage folks to continue to use not only God bless America, but in God we trust, remind ourselves of how great the words under God are in the Pledge of Allegiance. Go to firstliberty.org right now. We've got a special gift for you to remind your neighbors and your friends about how important phrases like in God we trust and God bless America are to our country.
Well, you know, as a Christian, my faith is extremely important to me. When I think about taking God out of America, it really saddens me because I feel like we need him. When you have shootings in synagogues and shootings, in churches, and you have to get wanded before you walk into a congregation or into, a church now. Where have we come as a country? What's going to happen if we continue to push this narrative to take God out of everything?
Well, I fear for our country if we were to get rid of these things entirely. And when we've got groups like the one you mentioned earlier that are intent on getting rid of any kind of public utterance of religion in public, that's a danger to our society here. Look, let me give you the clear and very technical legal analysis. If you get a letter from this organization that says you need to get rid of the words God bless America, or if they try to intimidate you to think that sixth graders' use of the phrase God bless America over the intercom during the announcement times right after they said the words under God in the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's somehow unconstitutional, ignore it. It's not worth the paper that is written on. And for that matter, I'm wondering if they're so upset about the phrase "God bless America." Is the school district there in Pennsylvania that is frankly not too far away from where those flights went down on 9/11? Are they then going to get rid of like the dollar bills and having "God we trust" on them? Are they going to start punishing teachers for saying "God bless you" to students that sneeze in the hallway? This is absurd, and it should be treated as absurd. When people say that the grass is pink, it's not based on any kind of reality. Just like when they say "God bless America" is unconstitutional, there is no reality that supports that.
Jeremy, excellent question. Are you going to reach out to the school?
Okay, honey.
Yeah.
So you guys didn't hear it, but she had some choice
And fuck me's. And like, are you kidding? So you just go ahead and walk us through the bullet points and I'll...
Right. Okay. So first they started off by saying that the courts don't deem this as unconstitutional, or he's comparing "God Bless America" to like "In God We Trust" and under "One Nation Under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance and everything like that, which, I mean, they are unconstitutional. Like, they are statements of faith for one particular God. They're not talking about a deistic God in those statements.
No, they're not. And what's interesting is I actually had a good conversation with Andrew Seidel, who is an attorney for the FFRF, the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And he said when they send letters, and they send thousands of letters a year, and a lot to school districts because of these exact situations, mostly school districts do not fight them because they know they will lose and they don't want to spend the money. But when they do go to court, they've won. Their win to loss ratio is 14-3. So they win almost all the time. So these things are not okay, not in a legal sense, not in a personal sense. It's fine if you want to be religious at church, in your house, wherever the fuck. But in a public school, you cannot endorse a specific God on behalf of the school, like the school doing it. If a kid wants to sit and pray before lunch, fine. But you cannot have a priest or a preacher or whoever come into the school and make the kids pray before lunch. And I understand his point about standing up and having saying "God bless America" after they've already said the pledge, and it says "One Nation Under God." They shouldn't be doing that either.
No, they shouldn't. But he feels like because they allow the pledge, the whole "God bless America" thing should be de facto okay.
I don't think the pledge should be allowed in schools.
Well, no. So like there is a big conversation over the Pledge of Allegiance and whether or not you can force students to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and there have been a lot of people standing against this, people have tried to force students to do it, and when they're steadfast against doing it, you always see it crop up because they always do something really fucking like crazy.
Well, and it doesn't have anything to do with having under God in it at all. I think it's nationalistic, and I think it's dangerous to teach kids nationalism. I just think that's dangerous.
No, I agree. I'm against it, like in general. Like I don't, not just because of the God portion of it, but I mean, I think for me at least, it would be a little bit more tolerable if they did take out the "One Nation Under God," because that wasn't part of the original pledge that was put together. But I also don't agree with the nationalism and everything like that.
Well, I just don't think it's acceptable to force kids to stand up there and pledge their allegiance to something. They don't understand what that means, and it's asinine, and they shouldn't be required to do it.
Well, in the way that "God Bless America" violates the First Amendment of the Constitution is the fact that it would be faculty led, that it would be school endorsed religion.
Right.
And so it definitely does. Don't listen to this fuckhead about how to ignore any letters you get from the FFRF, because you will be drugged through the court system, and you will spend a lot of money defending an indefensible position. So just fucking don't do it. Okay?
What's next?
Next is the mentality that adults do it, so why not kids?
Well, because you shouldn't be indoctrinating other people's children into whatever the fuck you think.
Well, no, true. There's that too, but I mean, I can think of a lot of different things that we don't consider kids to be old enough or mature enough or really grasp,
like rated R movies.
Right. They don't have the mental capacity to do that. And I still don't think, like, even in high school, I still don't think that, you should be pushing religion on kids. And especially through the public school system, because I don't want the public school teaching my son about God. That should be my responsibility for however I want him to think about God. It's not the public school's responsibility. And I would feel like everybody, regardless of what your religion is, could get behind that. Because what if they start teaching the Mormon God in school?
The Mormon God is Yahweh.
Well, no, I meant like, the Mormon theology of it, like Joseph Smith and everything like that. Like, I mean, you would like other Christians that aren't Mormon wouldn't want their kids to be hearing about Joseph Smith and how he's a prophet.
Well, that's true, but I mean, that's not what they're doing through just saying God.
No. I'm talking about pushing religion on kids in schools in general.
Yeah,
Like,
they're not allowed to do that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess a comparable situation would be like a law bless America or something like that. Like, I mean, they wouldn't have. Like,
or if at the end they'd say Hare Krishna.
Right.
Like, that would not be okay with any
True.
Christian parents.
And we see this time and time again with people that freak out over like what they consider to be Islam being pushed on kids. Anytime that it's like Islamic or other religion related, being taught in schools, even just taught, like just teaching the pillars of Islam as a historical thing to know.
Or not even taught. Do you remember when that federal judge was it New York? She was Muslim, and when she took her oath of office, she did it on the Quran. Do you remember how fucking pissed people were that she was allowed to take the oath of office on the Quran?
Oh yeah, they started saying,
"Oh my god!"
Yeah, people wanted a religious test for office.
They were so mad about that, and I was like, "Look, none of you fucks should be taking the oath of office on your goddamn religious texts. You should be taking it on the fucking Constitution because that's what you're there to defend."
And then the Fox News co-host woman, she's apparently afraid of taking God out of the public space because of school shootings and stuff and what that'll cause society.
Church shootings. She specifically mentioned synagogues and church, and that you have to go through a metal detector. Congregations have to go through metal detectors to go to church. So she's afraid to take God out of schools. Bitch, God is supposed to be in church. Y'all are getting shot up in church. So what do you think God's not in church? Because if you think that, then you got other problems. So I don't understand I do understand her method of thinking. She has none.
Well, yeah, and I want to say that she alluded to just all the shootings that have been happening.
No, she was very specific. She said synagogues. Yes, she was very specific about churches.
Okay, well, like having God bless America or whatever kind of God shit in a church, just like in a school, is not going to prevent anything. If anything, I think the shooter would probably wipe his ass with whatever kind of plaque you have. Well,
and here's the thing. Nobody's trying to take God away from you in church.
Right.
No, we're just saying don't do that in public schools where other people's children, where you don't have control. You should not have control over the minds of other people's children.
Well, yeah, but you see, these are people that think that like atheists and whatnot, they can't be good parents.
Well, yeah, but that's ridiculous.
It is. It's stupid because.
And what's interesting is it's not only about us; it's also about the fact that kids who aren't Christian get alienated at school because they're separated. If they don't believe in the same God, or if they don't follow along with what the majority of people are doing, they can be alienated, and that's not good for the kids.
Thank you, heathens, for tuning in today. Have you left a comment down below with your thoughts on this particular story? No? Okay, go down there right now and leave me a comment. While you're down there, you can smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. You could also become a Skeptic Mafia member if you would like to. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice, and I will see you heathens later.